We will have the usual sitting tonight with Shine and Q&A, 6:30 to 8:30, and it will be Zopa and or Bill, if I can wrangle him. Okay, so come back. Why not? I said, or stay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, or just stay from 4 to 6:30.
It got warm in here.
Yeah. Couldn't have said that a month ago. Even a week ago.
So we're going to recite the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Before doing that, I want to say just a little bit about the bodhicitta part of the prayer. The word bodhicitta, which is pretty much always included with refuge, that prayer is, it's often translated as awakening mind. Sometimes it's called awakened mind, but it doesn't quite take into account the intention that is meant to be part of the bodhicitta, which is the intention to fully awaken in order to be a genuine benefactor for sentient beings that they might also awaken. The awaken here can be simply stated as someone who is an awakened person is someone who recognizes the nature of their own mind. So the aspiration embedded in the word or phrase bodhicitta is someone who is awakening, that is, they're applying all of the practices that they have and the working as much as they can in that direction of awakening, and their aspiration for doing that is that this is the way in which they will be capable of being genuine benefactors for all sentient beings. Since each one of us is a sentient being, defined as someone with a mind who is also confused about the nature of things and the nature of themselves. So bodhicitta is to rise from that slumber, sometimes called, that is to say, the confusion that goes with sleep, usually. To wake up from that, we then are capable of helping others wake up to recognize their own natural state. So refuge and bodhicitta are both the act of ourselves turning for refuge from all of our all the wars, in general, all the confusion. Refuge in the Buddha is to go for refuge in something which is an antidote to all of that confusion. And the bodhicitta aspect of it is that the wish to awaken in order to benefit all sentient beings. So first we'll start with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer 3 times together.
Who until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness.
As we mentioned earlier, can be taken in at least 2 different ways. One, refuge in the historical figure, even the Buddha Shakyamuni, as a protector, a guardian against all the things that cause us more confusion, driving us deeper into our conflicted emotional states and so on. Beyond the historical figure, then, we have all of the teachings that came directly from the Buddha and also came down to qualified disciples who codified much of the material. And we have access to those teachings, which is called the body of Dharma. So we go for refuge to those teachings because of their potency and their conceptual understanding. So for most of us in the West, the body of all the teachings is where we start, because it is imminently accessible to our intellect. In addition to the Buddha as an historical figure and the Buddha as the body of teachings, or the Dharma as we call it, there is also the refuge in the Sangha. The Sangha is the community of practitioners all of us here might be considered Sangha. Our job, in addition to the practice of the Dharma, as members of the Sangha, the ordinary Sangha, that is to say, we're not exalted Sangha, just ordinary Sangha. In addition to that, we also have a responsibility to maintain the Sangha itself, which is to say, learn how to resolve conflict with your Dharma brothers and sisters, learn how to share ideas, opinions, experiences without falling into damaging disputes. That is the job of the ordinary Sangha. Learn how to speak and act kindly. Remembering the boy in the monastery and the highly esteemed monk who said, "But look at this young boy, how beautiful his Buddha nature is." In other words, as a Sangha, we are charged with gathering all the things together that we can that will make it possible for a harmonious, honest relationship with the entire community and beyond. So in that way, when we talk about refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha, these are the things that are being pointed at. This morning, we talked about the importance of relaxing. Relaxing is not only a physical phenomena. It is also, generally speaking, a mental state. So whenever we sit down and begin to meditate, it's important to get comfortable. If we are sitting in one of the prescribed positions, if we are capable of doing that for any duration, then we do our best to get comfortable in that situation. If we find it not possible to sit in the kind of constrained positions, then it's okay. We just need to relax in that position. Relax makes the big difference between successful practice and just exhausting work. So in the system of shamatha, we begin by that relaxing. And when the relaxing feels somewhat stabilized, we then move carefully, by virtue of each of our individual judgments about our own capabilities and what works for us, we begin to follow that breath. Breathing primarily through the nose. And usually the prescription is to breathe into the belly, which of course does not mean that we are actually breathing into our belly as if it was a substitute for our lungs. We don't have to be completely blind about what is happening. But when we breathe, the idea is to breathe kind of deeply and imagine that our belly expands, in which case it probably will, and that in that expanded belly, or kind of like a balloon, it is filled with our breath. And once we have the rhythm of breathing like that into the belly and exhaling from that position, we don't need to pay attention to the rhythm. If you count the breaths, that's fine. Can be helpful, keep you reminded. But if you wish to not count the breaths, that's okay too. Just sitting quietly, watching our own breath, like the wind in the trees. We alternate filling and emptying. And the idea here, more importantly, is that we keep our mind on where we are and what we're doing. Later, if you're practicing at home, you keep your mind on where you are and what you're doing. So you're at home and you're practicing shamatha. If you're at home watching television, then it's important to recognize that you're at home watching television. So in your own mind, maybe under your own breath, acknowledge all aspects of the situation honestly and clearly. After you have taken a few breaths in the way that we just prescribed, then you can let go of that more strict method and just breathe more naturally. For the duration of the session, following the breath coming in and going out.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
Let's see. Does everybody have one of these? Does nobody have one of these? You're all alone?
You're all
What's changed? Oh, they're coming imminently. I have one. Sometime in the not too distant future, we need to have a group like this and go through this aspiration prayer for about an hour or two. But for now, yeah. Well, the longer you go, the more confusing it gets. So, all right. Namo Guru. Gurus and Yidams, deities of the mandala, Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions, and your children, consider me with kindness. Grant your blessing that all my wishes be realized. Sprung from the snow mountain of the pure actions and intentions, mine and those of all sentient beings without limit, may the river of virtue, undefiled by the 3 spheres, flow into the ocean of the 4 bodies of Buddha. As long as I have not realized this, through all my lifetimes, birth after birth, may not even the words for defilement and suffering be heard, and may I enjoy the prosperity of oceans and happiness and virtue. Having obtained this excellent, free, and well-favored life, along with faith, energy, and intelligence, having attended a worthy master and received the pith of the sacred instructions, may I practice the sacred Dharma properly in all my lives without interruption. The study of scriptures frees one from the veil of ignorance. The contemplation of oral instructions overcomes the darkness of doubt. Light born of meditation illuminates the way things are. May the radiance of the 3 wisdoms increase. The significance of the ground is the 2 truths, free from the extremes of eternalism and nihilism. The excellent path, the 2 accumulations, free from the extremes of assumption and denial. The result obtained is the 2 benefits, free from the extremes of existence and peace. May I meet the Dharma, which is free from error. The ground of refinement is mind itself, indivisible luminosity and emptiness. The refining, the great Vajra composure of Mahamudra. What is to be refined, the incidental stains of confusion. The result of refining, the unstained Dharmakaya, may I realize it.
Complex outlook is cutting assumptions about the ground. The key to meditation is maintaining that without distraction. The supreme activity is to exercise the sense of meditation in everything. May I have confidence in outlook, meditation, and activity. All dharmas are projections of the mind. As for mind, there is no mind. Mind's nature is empty. Empty and immediate, mind appears as everything. Investigating it well, may I settle the basic doubts. Appearances, which never existed in themselves, have been confused as objects. Awareness itself, because of ignorance, has been confused as self. Through the power of dualistic fixation, I wander in the realm of existence. May ignorance and confusion be completely resolved. It doesn't exist, even Buddhas do not see it. It doesn't not exist. It is the origin of samsara and nirvana. No contradiction, conjunction, the middle way. May I realize the pure being of mind, free of extremes. If one says it is this, nothing has been posited. If one says it is not this, nothing has been denied. Unconditioned, pure being transcends intellect. May I gain conviction in the ultimate position. Not realizing it, one circles in the ocean of samsara. Realizing it, Buddha isn't anywhere else. It is everything, it isn't anything, none of this. Pure being, the basis of everything, may I see any misunderstanding here. Since appearance is mind and emptiness is mind, since realization is mind and delusion is mind, since arising is mind and cessation is mind, may all assumptions about mind be eliminated. Unpolluted by meditation with intellectual efforts, undisturbed by the winds of everyday affairs, not manipulating, knowing how to let what is true be itself. May I become skilled in this practice of mind and maintain it. The waves of subtle and coarse thoughts calm down in their own ground. Motionless, the river of mind abides naturally, free from the contaminations of dullness and torpor. May I establish the still ocean of shamatha. When one looks again and again at the mind, which cannot be looked at, and sees vividly for what it is, the meaning of not seeing, doubts about the meaning of is and is not are resolved. Without confusion, may my own face know itself. Looking at objects, there is no object, one sees mind. Looking at mind, there is no mind, it is empty of nature. Looking at both of these, dualistic clinging subsides on its own. May I realize sheer clarity, the way mind is. Free from mental constructions, it is called Mahamudra. Free from extremes, it is called Madhyamaka. Everything complete here, it is also called Mahāti. May I attain the confidence that in understanding one, all are realized. The great bliss of non-attachment is continuous. Sheer clarity without fixations is free of obscurations. Passing beyond intellect, non-thought is naturally present. May these experiences continually arise without effort. Attachment to good and fixation on experience subside on their own. Confusion and evil concepts are cleared away in the realm of ultimate nature. In the ordinary mind, there is no rejection or acceptance, no separation or attainment. May I realize the truth of pure being, complete simplicity. For the nature of beings has always been full enlightenment. Not realizing this, they wander in endless samsara. For the boundless suffering of sentient beings, may overwhelming compassion be born in my being. While such compassion is active and immediate, in the moment of compassion its essential emptiness is nakedly clear.
This conjunction is the undeviating supreme path. Inseparable from it may I meditate day and night. From the power of meditation come eyes and actual knowledge. Sentient beings are ripened and domains of enlightenment refined. Aspirations for the realization of all aspects of Buddhahood are fulfilled. May I complete these three, fulfillment, ripening, and refinement, and become Buddha. By the compassion of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and the power of whatever virtue there may be, may my wishes and those of all beings be fulfilled as we ask in this way. Thank you all for a most delightful day. Really nice. Perhaps we'll meet again.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tonight.
Yes.